My friend, welcome to the world's best kept secret podcast, the podcast that shows spiritual entrepreneurs how to clarify their message and then how to turn that clarity into revenue. I'm your host, Pamela Jackson, a mentor and message expert since 2020. Whether you seek to simply clarify your message or feel ready to monetize your brilliance, this is your safe space for actionable guidance and practical tools on how to turn your woo into predictable revenue. Let's get started, shall we? Welcome to today's episode, and with me today is Dr. Pamela Jackson-Smith. Today we're going to talk about what do you do when you wake up and you feel like you lost yourself? You don't know who you are. You feel like you have so much baggage, you want to leave it behind and start all over again. What do you do when you wake up at 50 and you're like, I don't know who I am. I don't know how I got here. And I don't know what my second half is going to look like, but I'm determined to leave suffering and all of this confusion behind. Dr. Pam has been doing this for the last 3 years, but she's lived most of her life, breathed, gone through all of the things that she talks about. Who are you when you lose your marriage? Who are you when the kids leave you and they don't want to know? And you're this empty nester whose identities are wrapped around kids. Like, who are you when mental issues crop up? Who are you when everything goes south? I'm excited to have this conversation because a lot of women are in a situation where they thought they were married and then they woke up to no marriage. They thought they had kids and then the kids woke up and say, Mom, I'm getting out and you're not welcome. You're not welcome to be in my life. A lot of people are in this state where you're doing well, your mother, you're a parent, whatever, wife, and then cancer decides you're now a cancer person. Like, who are you when your identity diminishes suddenly into thin air? How do we make sure you're not getting mentally torn apart? We're going to have this conversation in the most authentic way possible with somebody who's been there, done that, been that. So you can reduce the years of struggle and kind of go, my second half needs to look different, and I'm determined to make it happen. And so I'm really excited to dive in. Pull a chair, pull a stool. Who do you know that is middle-aged that needs this conversation? How about invite them to the conversation? Or maybe wait and do it at the end once you have seen and felt Pamela's heart and who do you think it could help? Dr. Pamela, I am excited to have you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. And I'm excited to be here, Prima.
As I was going round and round talking about what you do in circles, what did I leave out that is so essential to the work you do that without that piece, everything we're saying may not make a lot of sense to the listener?
Well, what I do, I work with women who are in a crisis and who are at a point where they need to make a change, a transition in life, and they don't know where to start. They don't know how to set their goals. They don't know where they're going, and they no longer know who they are. They've had a dramatic change. It could be the loss of a spouse. And you mentioned empty nesters. For some, it's a career change. They're approaching retirement or they've retired and they no longer carry that identity of that career that they built, took all their life to build, and they were very successful and made all these achievements. And now here I am, no longer in that career. So who am I now? So those are the women that I seek to help.
After being employed for 40 years, you get laid off and you're like, okay, who is this person? Like, who am I? I know a woman who was married for like 35 years, and then the husband said he wanted a divorce. And it didn't make sense to her. She was like, okay, so who am I now without the kids and without the husband? And so I totally get that place where people can be like totally confused, don't know
Mhm.
who they are, don't know how they got where they got, and they're like, okay, this is so confusing. I don't even know if any goals are worth setting. I am just in a state of panic. This is a, as you have called it, it's like a crisis. Like, how do I get through this crisis? This conversation wouldn't Oh, so let me ask a question. Like, what are these women looking for? The kind of person we want to speak to on this show, what is it that they are wanting out of their life?
Well, what they want to do is they want to gain some type of clarity
Mm,
about where they are. They want to be able to identify the obstacles that are in place because sometimes when you are so emotional and you're in this state of being unaware of who you are and you don't know where you are, they're looking for some type of clarity so that they can go ahead and start making some goals and start moving forward. They're stuck. And so they want to know how to get unstuck.
are you feeling stuck? Have you lost your identity? Do you feel like you don't know who you are anymore? Do you feel like you could use help starting all over again? The way that I
Yes,
think about Dr. Pam's audience is okay, life has happened. You don't even know how you got here, but all you know is that you want to leave everything behind and start all over again. It's like rebirthing yourself or
yes.
allowing yourself to remove whatever it is that has happened to you and go, okay, I want to start again. Like, let's start like from day one. Is that the idea, or are they trying to shift and find a new identity, or like where are they? Like, how determined are these people? What is it that they are like so dedicated to doing? Are they wanting to rebirth? Are they wanting to remove some undesired circumstances? Are they wanting to find a new identity? What would you say is there?
Well, I would say that they want to reinvent their lives
Mm,
because they need to recreate a life for themselves because what they were basing their life on is
mm,
no longer there. And so without it, they're just in that constant turmoil. So they're looking for a new life, a new purpose, um, reinvention of themselves. And what's interesting is a lot of women can't articulate that.
mm,
All they know is what they're feeling. And
mm.
so it is my job as their coach to help them be able to put their feelings into words and to help them build a roadmap on how to get from where they are right now to where they would like to go. You know, as professionals, we have labels for all of those different stages of life and the different things that people are going through. But as the person going through it, you don't have all those terms and terminologies, and um, you don't really know how to say it. That's how I felt. I couldn't tell you where I was in the stages of life. I could just tell you how I'm feeling right now. And so I take that feeling that they have right now and help them to understand and become aware of who they are so that they'll know how to move forward. And I'm
I
hoping
love.
that makes sense.
I'm happy that you went there. Like they just know how they're feeling, and so on top of you feel like you're in a crisis, you've lost your identity, you used to be known for something that no longer exists, and so you're wanting to rebuild. I'm wondering if we can go there and kind of give them an idea of, if I'm listening in and going, I wonder if this is for me. I know I'm lost. I know I've lost my identity. But is there a way we can list their feelings? I know stuck was one of them. Like, is there a way we can list the feelings so they know, oh my God, this is for me, or that's not for me?
Well, one of the things that they are experiencing is the fear of the unknown. They don't know what to expect from life anymore. And so they are afraid of what they don't know. They have lost their confidence. They no longer feel um, courageous about their abilities and skills that they used to feel really good about when they were high achievers, but now they're doubting themselves. They don't have that sense of confidence. They are also experiencing loneliness and isolation because you no longer have all these people in your life that you may have had all this time giving you support and friendship. And as we get older, making friends is so much more difficult than, you think about kids who meet up on the playground for the first time and they go home and they have a new best friend. Well, for women, as we age and we lose those friends that we used to have in our career, you don't just go to a meeting and make a new best friend because of all of the internal things that we have. They have financial concerns. Now that my husband's not here to manage the money, what am I going to do? How am I going to do this all by myself? How am I going to put my financial world back together? They have that the emotions of grief and anger and sadness and frustration. And then there's that pressure to conform. They're looking at what's going on around them and they're feeling like maybe I should be like someone else, but I don't know how to be that. I don't know how to get there. So those are some of the feelings that they're dealing with.
I think I'm getting this. I think I have lost my power. So let's buy a bundle. I don't know. So we've lost power. Am I still coming through okay?
Yes, you're coming through okay now.
We've lost power. So I had to reset my internet. I'll just put this in the notes so he can cut out them.
Yep.
All right. So I think I really understand. I think I understand the person now. You have been in a place of responsibility, could have been mother, everyone is asking for answers, could have been in a job where everyone is expecting you to give them answers. You had these communities, maybe it's the job, maybe it's the marriage, maybe it's a church, maybe it's all of these things you have had an identity to. You've probably been successful in the wild way of seeing success, but suddenly you feel like the success has been stripped away, and now you feel like a failure. And you're like,
Yes.
okay, how did I get here? Wow. Okay, cool. So I feel like now I understand really who we're speaking to, what the problem is, and what we're going to be giving them. So I'd love to kind of dive into your story because this conversation wouldn't be complete without your own story, because I know this has been your journey as well.
Yes. Okay. Well, I will start with 2019, and I was working for the school district and having a really fulfilling it was a very fulfilling position that I had working with the homeless, and I was happily married, and my husband and I really enjoyed life together. And it was a marriage made in heaven, is what I like to call it. And I was at work one day and I got a call. My husband had become ill, and he had been ill for a few months. He had had surgery, and he was in a nursing home facility where he could get around the clock care. And I got a call from them saying that his pulse rate had dropped, and it was so low they had called for an ambulance to take him to the hospital, and I needed to be on my way there. And the hospital where he was um, where they were taking him was like 45 minutes to an hour from where my job was. And so someone drove me there because I was an emotional wreck, not knowing what's going to happen. And so someone drove me from work, one of my coworkers, and another coworker followed her so that she could bring her back and leave me with my car there. And when I got to the hospital, my husband had died. He had been dead for 20 minutes. And I was in shock, and my whole life seemed to just fall apart immediately. What in the world am I going to do now without my husband? And I started to try to think about what I needed to do next, who I needed to call. So I called the one friend that would call everybody else and let my family know. And so I started the journey of widowhood right at that point. And so as I was dealing with all of the necessary things that you have to go through, thinking about a funeral and all of those things, and I'm still working, I managed to get to a point where I could think about doing a memorial service. And we got that done. And we were able to get his ashes taken care of. And I'm going along now, working and trying to figure out, who am I without him? And that was not a symptom of weakness, but a symptom of my grief and loss, to just think about, what am I going to do now? And so we had been one, we felt like we were one together. And now I was trying to figure out, well, am I a half a person now? Or who am I? Will I ever be whole again? Um, will I be able to make a life now? And so I went 7 months after that, and I was at work working with the homeless students. I went to pick up some toys and get not toys, but gifts, because it was for my teens. And I went to pick up gifts for them. And I was walking from my car back to the building, and I tripped and hit my head on an iron bench. And I suffered a traumatic brain injury. So here I am now with this traumatic injury without my husband. And so I had to go through the process of going to the hospital to be assessed. I had 2 brain bleeds. I didn't know what was going to happen to me after that. How is my brain going to affect the rest of my life? And what I learned was my balance, and I get a little bit emotional thinking about this. My balance was affected, where I couldn't lean over to pick up something from the ground. And also, I suffered some cognitive issues with my memory. So I had to start rehabilitation for my balance. And I was working with a therapist to work on my memory, trying to get my memory back. And so I was doing this. I was back home. And while I was at home, I had to have someone to come in to help me shower, to prepare my food, to do my laundry, because I wasn't able to do anything for myself. And I had been the person who was the giver with all my friends and family. I was the one that was given the care and what have you. So now I had to allow someone to take care of me. And all the time I'm praying and asking God, what am I going to do with my life? What is the reason that I'm going through all these things? And so after I came home and I'm going through rehabilitation at home, sometimes I was going out to the doctors, the rehab centers. I find out that I have to have open heart surgery. I had had open heart surgery 37 years before to get a mechanical heart valve to replace my aortic valve. And now this valve was no longer serving me. And so now we're in 2020 and it's COVID. And so we're already experiencing some isolation. So I go in the hospital, no one can come and visit me. I'm with all these strange people I don't know. I have the surgery. The pain drugs are so strong. I'm having hallucinations. And I was just really in turmoil. And I'm trying to figure it out. What can I do? What can I do, God? How can you help me? Will you heal me? And I had some visions of going to heaven. Just so much. It was just so much going on with me at that time. And so I decided to go ahead and release myself from my job. I retired from my hospital bed. I submitted my paperwork because the pressure of worrying about what was happening with the families that I had been serving for all these years was just more than I could handle. And so I retired and I got ready to come home from rehab, discovered I had contracted COVID while I was in the hospital. And so I had to go into isolation for 10 days. After that, I came home. 2 weeks after I got home, my oldest brother died. And because of my condition, my family wouldn't let me come to the funeral. A month after that, my youngest brother died. And it's just so much loss, loss of my health, my well-being, on top of the losses of my husband and my brothers. And so I went into the recuperation mode, trying to get better and praying and asking God for direction on what to do. And as I continued to get better, to get back on my feet, to get my memory back, to get my balance back, it came to me that there are so many women going through this same journey that I was on who needed help. And that I decided I would try to become a life coach so that I could help women going through what I had gone through. And I enrolled in a life coaching program. And what I realized was while I was training to coach others, I was healing inside and I was regaining my identity so that I could move forward. I had prayed and asked God to put me in the company of women who were like-minded. And that's what happened to me in my coaching program. And I was able to move forward with my life.
Wow. So you lose your husband, followed by your memory. Now you can't support yourself, so you actually can't move. You lose your job, and you're like, okay, who is this person? Like, who am I? What
Yes.
do I even do from here? Like, what do I even do from here onwards? And so you get into this journey of helping yourself, and you go like, wait a minute, how many women have their own version of this?
Mm-hmm.
How could I use my pain for my purpose? And you decide,
Yeah.
okay, I'm going to be a life coach for women who've lost their identity, women who've suffered so much, they don't even know how to move forward. Nothing makes sense moving forward. How can I be that beacon of help for them? How can I give them something to lean on and move forward? Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Tell me about that. Like, what is the thing you wish you knew at the point when you lost your husband, or even before, that would have made everything maybe less painful if you knew it?
What would have made it less painful?
Like, what do you wish you knew before your husband died, or even after he had died, that maybe would have made things less difficult, less complicated, less painful? I don't know what the word is, but like, what do you wish you were told before that dark moment, or those dark moments, or that phase of pure suffering, one thing followed by another?
Well, being that I am a woman of faith and a Christian, the thing helped that helped me was well, what I discovered was that I needed to rely on my faith, because I had gone through things before in life. Like I'd had that open heart surgery 37 years before, and I've had other things that have happened to me where I was able to use my resilience to continue to make progress. I just needed to be reminded of those times when I had overcome obstacles. And so that's what I wish that I had been more aware of. But it was kind of like I needed to go through those things to
Hmm.
realize that I still had resilience, that I
Hmm.
was still a resilient woman, that I could still bounce back, you
So
know.
what was that one lesson that life has taught you today? Like, what is the one lesson going back? You're like, okay, I went through this, but I guess it was to learn this lesson. What do you feel is the lesson that God had for you in the bank, that you had to fetch through the struggles and the problems? Looking back, like, what do you think the lesson God wanted you to learn was?
I think the lesson was that regardless to what I'm going through,
Hmm.
I can overcome it.
Hmm. You have
That
what it
there
takes. Hmm.
there is a way for me to overcome, and I
Hmm.
just need to search for the way. And for me, it's been going through life coaching and therapy to help me to regain my sense of resiliency.
Hmm. I want to take you
Yeah.
to the I want to take you to the work you do now. And I wanted to ask you, if I was a woman who was in some way, shape, or form suffering from the loss of identity, which could look like, I don't know, a few things that add up together. And I was saying, I have no idea where I'm going, but what I know is that I don't want this to keep going, right? I want to start all over again. What would be the steps that you would advise? And I think you do this with your clients in the back. What are the steps from lost and stuck to I am rebuilding myself now with so much clarity? If you would like to go there.
Well, I have a methodology that I have been using even before I was a life coach, and I have used it working with clients and families and parents that I've had to work through that were going through these types of transitions. And I call it CAPE. And what CAPE, CAPE is an acronym for compassion, advocacy, partnership, then empowerment. And I feel like my ability to be compassionate for people, regardless to where they are in life, is a gift that I have because I can meet people where they are, and it's not something that I was actually trained to do, but it's something that's inherent for me. And once I encounter someone and I'm compassionate, then I work with them to build a relationship so that I can become an advocate for them. And sometimes the advocacy has been external in my work, but when I'm working with my clients, I'm an advocate for them with them. I'm their number one cheerleader. I'm pulling for them. And I can see that as they start to have self-discovery, start thinking more about their core values and the things that they believe, and we're working with their mindset, then I can work with them towards some goal setting and some visioning for where they would like to go. And so as I'm working with them through that, I partner with them. We're going to take this journey together. I'm going to hold your hand and we're going to work on this together as we help to build your confidence. And then we start doing some action planning in our partnership, and we work on overcoming obstacles. And as we're doing these things, they become empowered to make those steps that they need to make in order to rediscover themselves and reinvent themselves.
Passion, advocacy, partnership, empowerment. That's really good. I was thinking through the compassion bit. There's a woman who said, Prima, I was never compassionate. I never understood what it meant to be in pain. And I used to tell my clients, get up, dust off, move.
Oh,
And she
no.
said, yeah, she said, it's like going to a hospital and you have trauma or mental breakdown, and the doctor tells you, dust off, wake up, move. It's a mindset thing. And so she used to do that. And she was like, after I got an accident that left me with 52 bones that are broken, and I've had over 70 surgeries, I can tell you that God wanted me to be compassionate because I have compassion for everybody and anybody, and you could bring me Al Shabaab and I could still have compassion for them. And so, yes, to your point, compassion is a good one, advocacy, partnership, and empowerment. If I was lost and I was using this podcast as my last choice because I have probably can't afford anything else, and I was saying, okay, what do I do when I leave this podcast? What can I do as 1, 2, 3 things to get even like a little bit of clarity? Because I feel like the problem is lack of clarity sometimes because we fear, because there's things in the past that have showed up and they've programmed us to expect bad things and suffering. And so I am thinking if there was a woman listening to us who couldn't afford to work with you right now, and they were like relying on this episode to go and make a change in their life, what would you practically or tangibly want them to go, and like where should they start if they're trying to do some bit on their own, and we want them to kind of move from 1 to 2 just to feel a little bit of even a glance of clarity? What should they do?
Let's think, what should they do? I think one of the things that they could do is something as simple as journaling, to start to write down their thoughts and feelings, because once you see it in writing, it makes it real. And and then once it becomes real, then you can start to take action on it. You know, if you're writing in your journal and you see yourself writing about fear, and you identify, you know, I'm fearful, then you can start thinking about that. What am I afraid of? You know, what is the thing that's holding me back? So I think journaling is really a good place to start. I used to journal, but I didn't do my journal in a notebook. I would do it on my phone in the app that's called Notes, Notes. And I would write down things that I was thinking, things I was hearing, and I would record it in my notes so that I can have some type of feeling of reality of what I'm going through. Because sometimes you're wondering, is this really real? You know, am I really going through this? You know, I was the person that was getting all the awards at work, and I was the one, you know, that was the first one to step up to want to take leadership. And now I'm just feeling like I can't move. And so you start writing these things down, and then it gives you some type of framework on how you can start thinking about moving forward. And I think that's a way that you can start to get a win if you start writing those things down.
I love that. One of the things that I like to do is I like to just be clear of what I want. So life could be going upside down, and I would say, but what do I want? And somehow when I'm clear about what I want, it happens. The moment I focus on what's happening, what's wrong, what's not working, more of that happens. But I have reached a point in my life where I'd be like, okay, life seems upside down right now. Things are bad right now, but like, what do I want? And I just focus on that. There's another story that shows up for me right now in my mind, and I think it was Sarah Robert Jacks who was on an interview, and they said, what was a thing that held you back for a long time? Because she was like a teenage mom, and then she was divorced at 25, and then I don't know, I don't know whether she was a strip dancer or something at some point, and then her life was like upside down, and she's TD Jakes Robert's daughter. And so she said, the thing that held me back is I was like, I am a teenage mom, so that must not be for me. Oh, I am someone that was divorced at 25, so that must not be for me. Like, she always wanted to become something else so she could bury the teenage mom in the ground. And she said, I wanted to step on that teenage mom, and I wanted to step on that divorce, and I wanted to step on the stripper, and I wanted them down, buried in the sand that nobody ever saw me. And so I went for accolades and accolades and accolades. And she said the thing that turned around for her is she was like, yes, I'm the teenage mom, and I'm TD Jack's daughter, and I am someone who was divorced at 25, and I did strip dance, and I get to change the world. I get to step into this new version of me that helps women find, I don't know, another way to identify with religion or being, I don't know, being accepted in church or something like that. So to your point, I think that these women, one of the things that can begin to happen is you say, well, I'm Pamela, and I lost my husband at this, and I lost my memory at this, and this and this, and I get to be a life coach helping women, not discounting any of the things that happen, but saying these all pieces make me and give me the qualification to do this job. So whatever the new identity is, what I'm picking from you is that the past has given you the ingredients to step into your future. And so as she was speaking, she said, I wish I understood this, that I have a cabinet for spices, and every dark moment of mine is a spice, and I get all these spices and I use that to create a 5-star meal. And I was like, okay, that's good. So
That's really good.
I feel like that for you, Pamela lost husband, lost her memory, lost this, lost this, lost this, lost this. Now all those became ingredients, and now we're using them to create the next life for the person. And so if I was saying to someone who's listening, I'll probably say, how could you put your spices together and think about what meal could you make with all of the pain that has been in your life? Because that makes that meal
Yes.
your signature meal that I can't make because I haven't gone through the same process, that Pam can't make because she hasn't gone through the same process. Because I really think the problems, the struggles, the suffering, that's what is making all of the spices that if we bring together, we can make a unique signature meal that nobody on the planet can make. I don't know how you resonate with that, but that's what's coming for me.
That is very powerful. I love it. I love it because we can all relate to making a meal. I love
Yes.
that. Yes.
Bring it all together and think, why did I go through that? Throw it in the cabin. Why did I go through that? After all, say, how can I use these spices to create the meal that I know I want? I really like that.
Yes.
What's a part of the work you do that we haven't talked about that you feel would be very helpful at this point to go through?
Well, I've had some clients as young as a teenager. I had a parent who asked me to work with their teenager who needed to get back on track after being at home 2 years due to COVID. And I have had clients as late as 81, 82 years old. And so, in working with this wide range of clients, I have been able to use my CAPE method for all ages. And also, I've been able to help women to become successful with reaching their goals. We set goals together. And I've had a client who had to retire because she was losing her vision. And so she had to recreate her life as a person without vision. And so she was able to find a program that she could go through in order to learn to make the adaptations in her life, to be able to cook, to be able to travel around town by herself. And some of it required her to be a resident at the facility where she was learning all these new skills. And one of her dreams, the thing she envisioned herself doing, was to be an educator of adults. And so, as she was going through this program, they noticed her leadership skills and how she was making the adaptations. And they told her that they were interested in putting her on their staff to become one of their teachers there. And this was somebody of retirement age. I've had another client who wanted to know what her purpose was because she realized she has so many different gifts, things that she was able to do, but she wanted to know what God wanted her to do. And so we took a look at her life and her skill set, and she did some soul searching, and she realized what she really wanted to do was to help other youth. And she found a position in the community where she could volunteer to work with youth, and she's having a tremendous impact on the youth in the community. And I've had clients with um, low self-confidence. I've worked with them to be able to regain their confidence. And she's a business owner and she's doing great. And she's building wonderful um, um, social relationships. She wasn't able to do that before because in her mind, who would want to spend time with me? And so she's able to do those kinds of things now. So that's just some of the results I've seen in my coaching experience.
It's like, I think the payoffs are undeniably life-changing, because this is more, I look at it more like all hope is lost. There's a crisis and you're like, okay, is that even a next? Is that even another life? Is there even anything of me that is left? And
Mhm.
you can be in that state, but you can also decide that you're going to find the new you and launch into that with all of the spices from the past and all of the problems. And so I really, what I pick in all of them is more like empowerment to recreate you, like the
Yes,
empowerment to create your destiny, really, whatever that looks like.
yes.
Mm.
And before becoming a coach, throughout my life, I have worked with um, women, youth, young women, older women in church, and also as a mental health therapist to help women reach their goals, to achieve their dream, whatever they're envisioning for themselves, and when they didn't have a vision, to help them create a vision for who they could be now. And I've done empowerment workshops, which have been very successful. And I've worked with widows. I'm a widow. And so I love working with widows as well. Yes, and so I'm available. This is a good time for anyone who would like to seek my services because I do have a lot of openings for clients.
Tell me more about that. So you do one-on-one consulting, you do workshops. Give me a little bit of more of how you help people. I want the listener to kind of see where is it they may best fit.
Okay, I provide one-on-one coaching and
Mm.
I also do group coaching because sometimes it's good for women who are going through something similar to bond together because they can give each other strength. And I do keynote speaking. I have a list of speeches on my website, and I have my website posted right here, drpamsplace.com. And I can also create speeches for whatever your purpose is, whatever the occasion might be. I can do keynote speaking. And
Amazing.
I
So,
can
mm,
do long-term coaching. It's not all 6 weeks or 90 days. I can do up to a year or however long the client needs me to work with them.
okay, so one-on-one and group, short-term and long-term, workshops, keynotes. Okay, that's quite a lot of things that you do. What I would like to suggest is we're going to put Dr. Palm's website in the show notes. You can also read it behind her. drpalmsplace.com, but we're going to put it in the show notes. You can click on it and you can grab a call with Dr. Palm. I think sitting with her may be the best way to know like which of the containers is best for you right now, because
Yes.
I think there's going to be different needs for different containers, and it's probably not going to be that everything is for you. So like which of these facilities is going to be best for you? Ultimately, the biggest thing you can do for Dr. Palm, myself, and the work we do in the Words Best Kept Secret is to share this episode with one person whose life could be altered by Dr. Palm. So I want you to pause and think who's going through a life crisis right now. Who just lost their father and that has dropped them into like this midlife crisis at 20 or 15, who knows? Who just lost a husband, they don't know where to move from there. Who's had cancer for X amount of time and they're just losing all hope through that? Who do you know that needs to recreate themselves? You're like, I love this person, I care for them enough. I think they've had enough suffering. Who do you know that
Mhm.
has been divorced out of nowhere? Who do you know for who Dr. Palm's work of recreating yourself would be something that is life altering? Best thing you can do is share this episode in their private space. Is it Messenger? Is it WhatsApp? Is it normal SMS? Share it with them so they can come to your coffee and listen in. You really never know how much of a change sharing this episode can do with somebody else. So I would argue to stop and share this episode with one person for who you would love to bless today. And if you're watching this because somebody shared it, please do not break the string. Go forth, look in your people, the people that are dear to you, and think which woman would find this work life-changing. Which woman would love some help in finding who they are as a person now, after all of the things in the past, so they can recreate that version of themselves. Please pass on the message. And as always, pull your app up and do all of the things that you have the ability to do. Is it to follow? Is it to subscribe? Is it to review, or is it to comment? Whatever it is, know that you're doing that is very helpful and really does help the show more than you think. Dr. Pam, we're getting to the end, and I would love for you to give us your parting word.
Okay. Well, if you find yourself in a state of what we call decision paralysis, because you're just overwhelmed with decisions to make, because you're fearful of the consequences of your choices, I believe I can help you. I've been there. And that's one of the things that makes my coaching different, is because I've been through the things that I'm willing to help you with. So reach out to me. You can schedule a call with me. We can get on the phone and talk about how we can work together. I'm here for you.
The best gift you can have is a gift of someone who has much compassion and has gone through the things you're going through, so that you're just picking off their sweat, their tears, their frustrations. And Dr. Pam is one of those people for you. So if you know that you're ready to get all of the pain, turn them into spices, reach out to the shelf and make that 10-star meal from it. Now is your time. Check the show notes, grab a call, and have a chat with Dr. Pam. As always, I hope this was insightful. I hope this helped you out. Thank you so much for hanging out with us and for spending all of the time you've spent with us, with your most precious gift, which is time. And Dr. Pam, thank you for pouring in the community. I sincerely appreciate your appearance and look forward to what this message will do for the community.
Thank you.
Have a beautiful day, my loved ones. I will talk to you very, very soon. Thank you for joining this conversation on the world's best kept secret podcast today. If you feel ready to stop keeping your work a secret, head over to primajob.com and request